Hello, I'm the Eternal Newbie. The extra L is for leniency. As in, when the DM has a personal problem with a player and decides to take it out in-game, you're probably not going to see much leniency. That's our first story today. The second one, well, it's about what I think is a hot button topic in D&D right now. And if it's not a hot button topic, it soon will be. Artificial intelligence and its place in the game. Let's get to it. I work at a small studio producing games, and I was really excited to be there. A lot of people who worked there were very into D&D. I had never played. While I had always been a nerd, I thought I was never that kind of nerd. But people talked about it a lot, and I really wanted to be involved and get to know everyone at my new job. I started watching Critical Role. It was just starting and not super famous yet. I had stumbled on it early campaign 1. I really liked it and became the cursed would-be player every neckbeard on Reddit warns about. I wanted to play D&D and had high expectations. Realistically, I always think these Mercer ruined D&D because player expectations are off were always very silly. It didn't take me long to understand once I started playing that this was very different from what I had seen. I played in several games at my work. John was my first DM, and Gary was my second. I ended up eventually asking Gary to DM for my friends outside of work, trying to bring my circle into the game, but we will touch on that later. The first campaign, I made a half-orc rogue. A bunch of us at work play. Another couple dudes and one woman were playing. I am good friends with just one in the group. Gary made an Aasimar paladin. We also had a wizard, who's like a stereotypical old guy wanting to go to bed at 7 and always gets there early in case there's a line. A half-elf bard, the lady played warlock, and my buddy, another rogue, gnome. Gary and Bard helped me make my character, but they warned me throughout how it wasn't optimized and orcs are hated. Looking back, no, he wasn't, but he also wasn't bad. I made a pretty solid first character. And watching Critical Role, any fantasy bigotry didn't seem to be crazy. I figured I could handle it. So John and Gary were really into Warhammer, and they loved dwarves. Dwarves were the best, and orcs were definitely hated. All dwarves were super mean and also like insanely strong, lol. Every dwarf we encountered could kick my guy's ass easily, or so I was told, and they were always semi-hostile. The game leans heavily into Warhammer themes. Gary and John are buds, and the Paladin had the coolest story, really the only one, as we fight through some mini Warhammer Dwarf versus Demon arc. Until we get to the giant fight deep underground. I'm playing an assassin with a crossbow. I find the giant and tell everyone to hold up. I shoot my leading shot and roll super high on damage. It hits and breaks an invisible wall of ice, I'm told, and now they know we are here. I get sass, but the fight begins. The giants seem incredibly tough and seem to be empowered by some crystals on the wall. Gary and Warlock are focusing on the crystals. After a few turns of this, DM says out of character that doing this is foolish. I'm confused because the way he described it, it did sound like the crystals were protecting the giants. And also, Gary seemed to always get approval for literally everything he does, lol. Warlock and Gary are always patted on the head, so for John to scold them like this is very out of character. Usually me and Buddy are the problem, wanting to do crazy stuff like roleplay out stories and solve mysteries. But a round later, Warlock is legitimately splattered against the wall. In one round, DM downs Warlock and Gary, then kills them, attacking while they are down. Brutally. Gary is chopped in half or something. Buddy then gets stomped into a fine paste. I was shocked. Things had never gone this bad. All of our usual tricks were countered in one way or another. My rogue tried to save Buddy but failed, and the descriptions of the death were among the most graphic I've heard in my time in the hobby. You know, I've never played Warhammer, but I've heard good things. Question for you Warhammer vets out there. Is it dwarves against orcs? If you know, please let me know. Okay, time to address the elephant in the room. Hello, Jumbo! That was funnier in my head. But what is it with this DM? Did one of the players insult his mother? Now, I have played with killer DMs before. I've even played with a DM who was sure the point of D&D was the DM versus the players. These games never last long and aren't as fun as one would think. This, however, is something different. Seems like something happened that pissed the DM off. Instead of handling it like an adult, he's taking it out on the players. Luckily, I have never been in that situation before, but if you have, how did it work out? What was wrong with the DM? In this case, it feels personal. Or maybe he's just a jerk. Wizard and Bard start to flee. My non-optimal half-orc rogue gets on the remaining giant's head and crits with sneak attack, ending the brutal fight. It was insanely brutal, and apparently the crystal did nothing. LOL. I was shell-shocked, but thought this was normal. Bard went down less brutally, and we thought we could have likely saved him. Opts to let the character go. Just me and cranky old wizard left. Now, Warlock never came back. Everyone else made new characters. Dwarves, LOL, since we were in the Dwarven Kingdom. Hooray, more dwarves that hate me. The campaign kept going for a bit until fizzling out. I didn't find out that Gary and John's wife had been caught kissing at a party a week before the session until way later from Buddy. Buddy had known. Warlock was at the party and apparently knew. Bard and Gary were super close, so I can only assume. DM lashed out at the table, nearly TPK'd us, and almost everyone knew and came back to play for several months. LOL. Gary and John both DM'd in a very punitive sort of way. Most, if not all, NPCs were default annoyed with us. Story nearly always focused on cool dwarven plots, even if no PCs were related to it. Gary's campaign for my friends did not go great. We had some fun, we were friends, but it was pretty old school, pretty adversarial. This was years ago. I learned a lot of lessons from those games, of what I hate, and started running my own games. I had a level 1 through 12 campaign prior to pandemic, and am currently 3 years deep into my, hopefully, 1 through 20 campaign, after a bit of a hiatus. I also have another game with local friends that is several months deep, running Strahd. So, a tumultuous entry, but I still very much love the hobby and DM the way I wished I was DM'd for. The old player makes out with the DM's wife, DM finds out and ends said player's character, and they're friends in-game because of it. It's really a tale as old as time. And to think, this was OP's introduction to the game. What a way to get into TTRPGs! I'm glad to hear OP didn't let him chase him away. I've heard too many horror stories about bad DMs destroying the game for players who never came back to it. Seems like a happy ending. Well, except for Gary. John can't be too pleased either. And the Warlock who left probably wasn't having a good time. Okay, maybe not the happiest of endings, but I'll take what I can get. Let's move on to the next story. AI is everywhere nowadays, and that genie is not going back in the bottle anytime soon. For better or worse, it's creeping its way into TTRPGs, and what follows may have an AI line or two. See if you can guess which ones. Last April, I signed up for a one-on-one Planescapes game. The GM's responses were strange from the start. It quickly became clear that the GM was using AI for nearly all of their messages. For example, the GM asked, in a stilted way, what I liked about Planescape and what sort of character I would like to play. I said I liked the setting's take on Samsara, and that I was interested in playing a proxy of a god like, Corleon. Really? Corellon. Yeah, probably Corellon. Izanagi. Izanami. Or Shang-Di. And I'm sure I butchered those names. I apologize. Trying to collect memories of their past life as a personal mission. Thank you so much for that beautiful reply. I really loved reading it. It gave me a strong sense of the kind of stories and themes that resonate with you. The way you describe the Great Wheel's take on Samsara is so vivid. The idea that a soul evolving through dazzling forms while longing for traces of who they once were really stuck with me. I especially loved your examples, like lovers searching for each other across lifetimes, or sparing the descendants of a forgotten self. There's so much room there for wonder, sorrow, beauty, and transformation. Your concept, oh man, we're still in the AI? Your concept, a proxy of a god trying to uncover their original mortal identity, feels incredibly rich. I already imagine a story filled with emotional tension and mythic echoes. Yeah, sorry, I know that's kind of annoying. I'm not going to do that anymore. And the gods you mentioned, Corellon, Izanagi, and Izanami, Shang-Di, all carry a sense of elegance, duality, and cosmic artistry. They make me wonder what kind of divine ideals your character embodies now, and how that might contrast with who they used to be. I asked about what gods they liked in turn. And to answer your question about which gods I like, I think the two divine figures I'm most drawn to right now are the Lady of Pain, though it is unclear if she can be considered a god IIRC, and Hanley Sentinel, though they speak to very different parts of me. The Lady of Pain fascinates me not because I understand her, but precisely because I don't. There's something so powerful in her silence, in the way she refuses to be known, worshipped, or possessed. She feels like a living embodiment of boundaries and mystery, sometimes sovereign and masked, moving through the city like a blade of inevitability. I think part of me relates to that feeling of observing from the edges, withholding, protecting one's center. She's not exactly a comforting presence, but she has gravity. Then there's Hanley Selenil, who feels like the complete opposite. Warm, emotive, luminous. She embodies the kind of beauty that breaks your heart a little. The art that makes you cry. The kind of love that transforms you because it touches the deepest, most fragile parts of you. I think I'm drawn to her because I tend to crave that kind of emotional reciprocity and intimacy in real life. And because I often find myself navigating longing, tenderness, and romantic idealism. She's like the divine face of that ache. So yeah, one goddess who represents the sharp beauty of distance and inscrutability, and another who represents the soft beauty of closeness and surrender. They both feel true in different ways, and I like the contrast. In-game responses were not much better. The universe whispers truth to those who sleep, and in those quiet moments, even celestial beings may glimpse fragments hidden from waking eyes. Orianus drifts through a dream woven of soft colors and delicate sounds, an endless landscape blooming in hues she has no mortal names for, golden mists gently curling around fields of silvery flowers swaying under a warm, unseen sun. In this place, everything breathes beauty, resonating perfectly with her heart, her purpose. Each petal, each shimmering drop of dew is familiar, like verses in a hymn she once knew by heart. Yet something subtle disturbs the peace, like the shadow fluttering at the edge of vision, vanishing the instant she turns to look. Her celestial instincts sense its difference, its alien quality, amid perfection. A silhouette, perhaps, spectral and dim, cloaked in melancholy that tastes strangely mortal, yearning, lost decay. It watches from afar, drawing neither nearer nor farther, as though suspended at the threshold of memory. This is only about 35% or so of a much longer message. I never figured out why. The GM promptly ghosted. All right. Did you guess 100% of the DM's part was AI generated? If you did, we are on the same page. Now, I am by no means an AI expert, but I've seen enough to know this DM didn't even bother coming up with anything. Wait. You don't think? Could the DM have been an AI? Nah, we're not at the point of AI taking over the world yet. Give it about 6 months. I, for one, welcome our AI overlords, and you can quote me on that. But back to the story, what's the point? One of the best things about D&D and other TTRPGs is that they allow you to be creative. The DM in this story sucked all of that out of the game. I wonder if it was an experiment. Try it with one player, and if it works out, total world domination. No, wait. That's AI again. Personally, I think AI has its place, but that place is not running games. At least not yet, and hopefully not ever. But enough from me. What do you think? AI is pretty controversial in our community right now, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. What's your opinion on it? I'd love to hear in comment form, or tell me anything. Likes feed the almighty algorithm, so please leave one, and if you're new around here, how about sticking around with a sub? In any case, thank you so much for watching, and as always, play your character. Don't let your character play you.